My name is Zamora, and I'm 13 years old. I live in a village in Afghanistan. My mother and father, 3 sisters, 2 brothers, and 2 uncles live here with my grandpa and grandma. I'm trying to get most of my work done before I leave for school this afternoon. One of the first things I do each morning is take care of our cows. My mother milks them in the morning and evening, and it's my job to feed them. Both of our cows just had calves, so they're getting a special warm feed. We use their milk to make yogurt that we sell to the villagers. I'm bringing the cows water from one of the village's wells. This water is only for animals, not for our family, because it's not clean. My little sister Nahid likes to follow me wherever she can. The cows get hay twice a day. When my older sister got married, her husband's family gave one of these cows to our family. Our parents allowed her to choose her own husband, and our brothers to choose their own wives. Some of my friends were engaged by their families when they were young children. But the government has passed a law that young people aren't allowed to actually get married until they're 17. We feed our chickens grain, but they also like to look for kitchen scraps and insects in the courtyard. Right now we have 8 baby chicks and 4 hens that lay eggs. By the end of summer, when the chicks are grown, we'll start to use them for meat. Most farm families in Afghanistan have a few chickens for eggs, a cow or goat that can give milk, and a sheep or 2 for wool and meat. Our house has 2 rooms and a kitchen. Each morning we fold the pillows and blankets from the night before and clean up, so we can use the rooms during the day. This broom is made from a bush that grows near the village. You can see that we have a low platform around the room to sit on when we're drinking tea and visiting. The platform and floors are covered with felt, and then with soft carpets and rugs. We use the center of the floor for meals and prayer. We take off our shoes before we come into the house, and the rugs protect our feet from the cold floor. My father says Afghanistan is famous for our beautiful wool rugs. He says they're made by the women in nomadic tribes. Nomads move their herds from place to place looking for grass. Most rural houses are built around courtyards like this. The yard is protected from the wind, so it's a good place to grow things. We have apricot, walnut, and pomegranate trees, and a grapevine. Most of Afghanistan is dry, and we like to use water carefully. See the raised paths around our yard? We'll plant vegetables between the paths. All the rainwater from the roof and yard collects in the low areas, where it can be used in the gardens. Nahid hates to have her face and hands washed, especially when the water's cold. This is cotton that Father bought at the market last month. When I have a little time, I comb it to fluff it up and to remove any seeds or leaves. We'll use it to stuff pillows and make thick quilts. Our kitchen is warm when we're cooking, but the other rooms can get pretty cold on winter nights. Mother has asked me to get more wood for cooking. It's springtime now, and it feels good to be outside. I'm really glad it's getting warmer, because I have to look for wood almost every day, and in winter that can be a cold job. Afghanistan has a lot of mountains, but the valleys are good for growing things. The foothills around the mountains are used to graze sheep, goats, and camels. When I have enough wood, I carry it back to the village. Our courtyards are arranged so that every family's entrance opens onto paths inside the village walls. Many houses are clustered together for protection from the wind and cold. I'm chopping the leeks Father bought this morning at the market. I'm going to use them to fill bologna, which is a flat bread filled with a vegetable. Sometimes we use pumpkin or spinach instead. We're also making flatbread called naan, which we have at every meal. Mother does most of our cooking, but I know how to make some things too, like rice, soup, and meat. We formed loaves with the dough Mother made earlier this morning. They've been sitting for a while to rise. We want to bake the bread soon, so it will be ready for dinner. The big loaves will be flattened into naan before they're baked. The smaller ones I'm making now are for bologna. See, I'm filling them with the leeks I chopped. Mother has heated the tender oven with the wood I collected, so we're ready to bake. We flatten each loaf and press the dough against the sides of the oven. It's so hot, the naan only takes about 5 minutes to bake. We're having dinner, which is our main meal. Today we're having the naan we made, rice, salad, noodle stew, and potatoes with yogurt and spices. I'm helping my uncle eat because he lost his arms and eyesight in the war. Our country has been at war for more than 30 years. My uncle was part of a group of Afghans who fought against the Russians. His job was to show soldiers how to find bombs, called landmines, that are buried in the ground. He also taught them how to take apart the landmines so they wouldn't explode. But one did accidentally explode, and this is what happened. Lots of landmines are still buried in the countryside, and people and animals sometimes step on them and are injured, or even killed. After I clean up and wash the dishes, I'm going to my religion class. Every afternoon except today, I go to a regular school. My father couldn't get permission for you to visit my school, but let me tell you about it. We don't have enough schools in Afghanistan, so we go to classes in shifts. One group of students goes in the mornings, and the other, including me, goes in the afternoon. We girls have women teachers, and boys are taught by men in a separate school. There are 1,500 girls in our school, and most classes have about 60 kids. For 20 years before I was born, Afghanistan was controlled by men who didn't believe education was important, especially for girls, and they destroyed most schools. So during that time, children didn't get an education. Now our government says all children have to go to school. It's time for my religion class. We're memorizing the Holy Quran. It's the word of Allah that was brought to us through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Muslims believe education is important for both boys and girls. When I get home from class, I wash clothes. I'll hang them in the courtyard to dry. Then I do some ironing. We wash and iron clothes every day. I heat the iron on the gas burner. When it gets hot enough, it will take wrinkles out for a minute or so until it cools off. Then I have to heat it again. have to be careful not to let the iron get too hot, because if it does, it will leave burn marks on the clothes. It's time for prayers. Muslims pray 5 times a day, and before we pray, we wash our hands, face, and feet. Islam teaches us that hatred and killing are wrong. We learn that everyone is equal before Allah, and that means we must also treat everyone as equals and respect their beliefs. My teacher says the words Muslim and Islam come from an Arab word that means peace. That's what we want, peace. I've laid down my prayer rug, and I'm wearing my large prayer scarf that covers my head and arms. My prayers will take about 5 minutes, so I'll say goodbye now. Please come to visit us again. Peace.
It's 6:30 and I'm getting up so I can get ready for school. My name is Medina and I'm 12 years old. I live here in Kabul with my mother and father, 2 sisters, an uncle, and his son, Tamim. Kabul is Afghanistan's capital and has about 3 million people. Our teacher says it's one of the oldest cities in the world. I usually wear my hair down when I'm at school and in a ponytail when I'm home. We're not allowed to wear makeup at school, but we can wear hair clips and headbands. We use lotion on our skin every day because the air here is so dry. I share a room with my sister Miriam, who's 14. I have the top bunk. Miriam wanted the bottom bunk, and she got to choose because she's older. We respect older people and do what our older brothers and sisters tell us to do. Mother has made breakfast for our uncle, Miriam, and me. Dad and my older sister Shabnam have already left. My father is an engineer, and my sister teaches at a high school near our home. Miriam and I are drinking black tea with milk, but our uncle always has green tea. We're having bread and butter, hard-boiled eggs, and cheese. Our main meal is at noon. This is me and my grandfather. He died when our family was in Pakistan. I'm going to change into my school uniform. Every week, the school headmaster checks our clothes, shoes, fingernails, and hair to be sure they're clean and neat. We'll be sent home if they're not. My uncle is going to drive me to school, which is 10 kilometers away. Miriam goes to a different school that's for 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. My uncle will take her to school later today, after her dental appointment. Most of the students in my school live close enough to walk. Otherwise, they can take city buses, but we don't have a bus in our neighborhood. Our teacher is taking attendance, which takes a while when there are 52 students in our class. I go to the morning session of a public school that has 3,000 students. Each class has a captain who is the student with the best grades. When the teacher comes into a class, the captain asks the class to stand, and the teacher says, "Ladies, in the name of Allah the Merciful, let us begin our class." We each share a desk with another student, and our teacher has divided the class so that one of us is an A and one a B. She's giving us a test where she asks Group A one question and Group B a different question. Then we don't have to worry about our desk partner seeing our answers. Now she's asking Group A, how does blood circulate in the body? Group B's question is to name the kind of food that provides the most energy. You may have noticed today's date on the blackboard. Islamic calendars start from the year that Muhammad made his pilgrimage from Mecca to Medina, whereas Christian calendars are figured from the year Christ was born. Our teacher is asking Group A, what is an enzyme? She's asking Group B, name the senses that are used when you do an activity. Our school year runs from March until December. Boys and girls can be in class together in primary school, but after that, we're in separate classes. Twice a week, I tutored this student who needs extra help using a computer. He just moved here, so he's getting a late start. I'm doing research in our library for a geography project. My paper's on the old Silk Road, which connected China and India to the Middle East. Kabul was a trading center for thousands of years before sea trade became important, because our valley was on a crossroads between different parts of Asia. This school is for 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. We take math, history, geography, biology, chemistry, the Holy Quran, sports, computer, geometry, geology, physics, and home economics. We also study English, as well as the official languages of Dari and Pashto. After my uncle drops us off at school, he stops at the Central Food Market to buy groceries for the family. He goes about once a week. While we're at school, Mother is working at home. She's the director of a resource center for a big high school nearby. She's also a medical doctor, but working in a hospital will take a lot of time. And she wants to have more time at home now, while my sister and I are in school. When I get home, I find that grandmother has come for a visit. My grandfather died in Pakistan, and Grandma lives with our uncle and his family, who live a 10-minute walk from us. After I change clothes, I hang up things I've left on the floor of my room. Then I need to help clean the house before we have dinner. My sisters and I take turns washing the dishes and doing housework. Today it's my turn to vacuum. This stove uses wood and charcoal for heating. We could cook on it, but we don't need to because we have a stove in the kitchen. We do keep a pot with water on the top of the stove so that it will evaporate to make the air less dry. We hang heavy curtains at the door to keep cold air from coming in. I shovel the walk so it won't get icy if we have freezing temperatures tonight. This should be one of the last snows of the winter. Usually it's too cold for the snow to stick together, but today it's great for making snowballs. It's 1 o'clock and we're having dinner. We have supper at around 7 o'clock. Today we're having rice with carrots, chicken, raisins, and almonds, soda, pickled vegetables, and of course, naan. After dinner, Miriam and I do our homework.
مش بإيه پایین جاست پایین با صفحه که در پایین صفحه که در باشم بالا
Younger students like me usually have about an hour of homework a day. Miriam often has 2 hours of work, and sometimes more. She finished her work already and wants to watch TV. My cousin Seema is getting married next week, and I'm making little bags of nuts to give to each of the 200 guests. Seema met Salim when they were in college. After they graduated 2 years ago, they got engaged. I've been looking forward to their wedding ever since then because I love all the music and dancing. I'm also putting together bowls of pine nuts, raisins, and almonds coated with sugar for the center of each table. While I'm ironing, I'm watching an Indian movie. I need to iron my clothes for school tomorrow, and Mother asked me to do some for the family, too. To save room, we store some clean clothes in suitcases under the bed. Father gets home from work at about 5 o'clock. My uncle taught me how to play chess, so now I can play with both him and Father. After we have supper, we have some time together. We're playing a board game. Sometimes when Father watches us, he says he's thankful to Allah that we're together here in our home. That's because during the war, when the Mujahideen were fighting each other, most of the homes and buildings in Kabul were destroyed by all the shooting and rockets that were fired. No one could go to work or school, and the city had no electricity or water. Many people died. Our family left the country and went to Pakistan. Some of my uncles stayed here in Afghanistan, and often the family in Pakistan didn't know whether they were alive or not. Our family waited in Pakistan for about 10 years until they decided it was safe enough to come back. So we're thankful for every day that we can be together. And that's what I'm thinking when I go to sleep. Good night.